Have you ever noticed how some of the strongest memories aren't about places at all, but about the people you shared them with? Not the people you chose later in life, but the ones you were simply given. The ones who knew you before you knew yourself. The ones who shared your last name, your bedroom space, your toys, and sometimes your patience. If that sounds familiar, welcome to my memory lane. Growing up with siblings meant never being alone, even when you wanted to be. There was always someone else in the room, someone else touching your things, someone else breathing just a little too loudly. Privacy wasn't something you expected. You learned early how to share space, time, and attention, whether you liked it or not. And most days, you didn't think much about it. It was just the way life was. You might remember mornings that started with noise. Feet hitting the floor. Drawers opening and closing. Someone calling out that it was their turn in the bathroom. Someone else insisting it wasn't. Arguments over who got the last clean towel or who moved whose shoes. None of it felt important then. It was just part of the day beginning. Toys were never just toys when you had siblings. They were treasures, bargaining tools, and sometimes weapons in small, dramatic wars. There was always one toy everyone wanted and one toy that somehow caused the most trouble. You might remember building something together on the floor, only for it to be knocked over in a moment of frustration. Tears followed by yelling. Yelling followed by silence. And then, not long after, playing together again as if nothing had happened. Now, here's the thing. Those little fights felt serious at the time. Someone always believed something wasn't fair. Someone always felt wronged. But looking back, it's hard to remember what the argument was even about. What remains is the memory of being together. Of sharing the same floor, the same room, the same long afternoons with nothing to do but figure out how to entertain yourselves. You might remember the sound of toys scattered across the floor. The clatter of metal cars. The soft thud of dolls being dropped. Board games missing pieces, but played anyway. Card games that lasted until someone accused someone else of cheating. And somehow, even that became part of the fun. Food played its own role in sibling life. Meals weren't quiet. Plates were passed. Someone always wanted what someone else had. There were debates over who got the bigger piece, who drank more milk, who finished their vegetables first. Desserts were counted carefully. Treats were remembered long after they were eaten. The kitchen was often the center of it all. Homework spread out across the table. Toys pushed aside to make room for dinner. Conversations overlapping. Laughter mixed with complaints. The smell of food filling the house while everyone waited, sometimes impatiently, sometimes quietly. And then there were the fights. Not just disagreements, but real arguments that felt enormous at the time. Words spoken too loudly. Doors closed too hard. Moments where you swore you'd never speak to each other again. And yet, somehow, by the next day, or even the next hour, life moved on. You shared space again. You shared toys again. You shared time again. You might remember being told to make up, to apologize. even when you didn't fully understand what you were apologizing for. But you did it anyway. Because family was family. Because staying angry took too much effort when you had to see each other every day. Those years were filled with long afternoons. Time moved differently then. You didn't measure it by schedules or deadlines. You measured it by how long until dinner. How long until dark, how long until something fun happened. You made games out of nothing. You found ways to fill the hours together. You might remember rainy days spent inside, boredom turning into creativity. Forts made of blankets. Living room floors turned into imaginary worlds. Quiet moments interrupted by sudden laughter. Those were the days that taught you how to entertain yourself and how to be with others. As time passed, things began to change. Bedrooms separated. Interests shifted. Arguments became less frequent, or sometimes more complicated. Siblings who once played together all day began spending time apart. But the shared history remained. Inside jokes. Memories no one else would understand. And then, before you realized it, childhood was over. The house grew quieter. Toys disappeared. The kitchen table looked bigger. Siblings went their own ways. Lives became busy. Conversations became shorter. Time became something you never seemed to have enough of. Looking back now, it's often the smallest moments that surface. Sitting on the floor together. Fighting over something that no longer matters. Laughing about nothing at all.